I really, really wish that everything I did was perfect. And it's really disappointing when I do things that have flaws, or when I find flaws in the things that I'm doing that I care about doing well.
What's not perfect right now?
I'm not in a state of pure bliss and joy 24/7.
Okay.
And the fact that I can achieve that state regularly makes me feel like I should be able to figure out how to maintain it all the time, which obviously is not possible. But it's just the juxtaposition between like feeling awesome and then being like bummed about something, or just being bummed about not even knowing why, just being like, just not feeling fucking, chipper.
Mm-hmm.
In those low states, it's just like, fuck, dude, I don't want to feel like this.
I felt like yesterday you were on something with like being okay with not figuring it out. I felt like that was progress for you.
That was an interesting insight, for sure. Yeah, and it's like I have at this point so many tactics, and I've gained so much perspective that even if I am feeling a little down, it's like I'm like, oh, well, I know what this is. I know it's temporary. But what you're referring to is I've historically had this idea that like, okay, I got to figure out why I feel like this.
It's
like,
crazy to me that there are people that just feel bad and then don't try to figure out why they feel bad and then do everything in their power to solve it. That seems crazy to me because like that's my default.
Putting it like that is interesting, and I think that is I think that's maybe why we have taken the career path that we've taken, because it's doing entrepreneurial stuff is just constant problem solving.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, but anyway, the realization was essentially like, oh, sometimes I might feel a little down, and I might not know why, and that's okay. And there's just a level of acceptance needed that like, this is how I feel right now, but it's going to pass, and then I'm going to feel normal again. And, it's not like deep, dark depression, but just like, or, just fucking in a shitty mood or whatever. It's like, everything's annoying you.
Mm-hmm.
I just hate that state so much. And cause like in that state, I'm just like, what the fuck do you have to be like dissatisfied with?
Right.
Like why, because I like to, my default perspective is one of immense gratitude. And I believe that if you are actively in a state of gratitude, then it's impossible to feel bad.
Do you think you can be grateful and bummed at the same time?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think it doesn't. It seems like they're polar opposites. Like if you can on an intellectual level understand that you should be grateful, but if you're not embodying that gratitude, if you are embodying that gratitude, then I think it's impossible to feel bad. If you're genuinely like, holy shit, I cannot believe how fortunate I am. Mm-hmm. Like you can't feel bad. I don't think so. Can you? You think you can truly, genuinely be living in a state of gratitude and also feel anxious? Because like, what are you anxious about?
I'm like trying to think of examples of this, if that's happened.
You can be grateful for
terrible things,
the depressed state, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I'll tell you, the moments of my life where I genuinely feel the most peace is when I'm struck by gratitude.
Yeah. But I also think gratitude's like it's like a muscle. Like you practice it.
Right. Totally. And I'm exponentially more grateful for everything in my life today than I was several years ago or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Like that checks out. I've definitely exercised that gratitude muscle.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of, I guess, in those lower states, just simply understanding on an intellectual level that you're grateful for everything, even if you're not feeling it in the moment, can be helpful in preventing the anxiety spiral, right? Mm-hmm. Which I honestly can't remember the last time that I had like a true anxiety spiral in recent memory.
That's
huge progress because I mean, particularly like early on with when we came together to start working on this company, it was almost like we would just alternate who was the support system for one another. It's like you would be spiraling, I'd be like, everything's fine. I would be spiraling, you'd be like, everything's fine.
And that's like a very human community trait. I've noticed that with Jess. I've noticed that with anyone I've ever worked with. If somebody else is freaking, it's like there's something that occurs in other people's brains that like some chemical fires or whatever that makes everyone else like calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
You've experienced
That's
that?
interesting.
Like
it's almost like because other people's problems are so easy, so clear, right?
Well, it's also like I think it's like literally like first of all, don't get me started on the fact that like I think we should be in way more communion and community than we are currently, and the way that like subdivisions and suburbs and all that shit's fucked everything. But
well, you don't live in a true suburb. I live in the suburbs, and we have a wonderful community.
I don't know my neighbors' names.
Yeah, because you live in you're
a city suburb.
You're on like the border of the hellscape that is downtown Austin.
Yeah.
So nobody's gonna fucking hang out with each other. No one's gonna know each other.
Well, I'm gonna.
It's also just a hodgepodge of people. It's like
I am going to create community.
You mentioned that. That actually sounds like a really interesting experiment.
I'm going to take my door-to-door experience. So in the block that I live in Austin, there's 2,400 houses. It's not a homeowner association because it's not HOA, but it's a neighborhood association, which is like a loose confederacy as opposed to a united nation. And so I am going to go to all of these houses with a flyer and set up a parents and kids meet up at the school playground.
Dude, I love that so much. That's old school Austin. That's like my parents moved here in 1981. My oldest sister was 1 year old, and my mom joined up with some what do they call it? It was just like a play date group.
Yeah,
of moms, and then the families that my mom met in doing that became like our Austin family growing up. Like we'd do fucking potlucks.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
we're going to build a community.
Yeah, dude. Somebody's got to take the first step, right?
No one else is doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not really me. I mean, if you want to,
Do you have a name for it?
So the neighborhood actually has a name. It's called the Southwood Neighborhood Association. I think is what it's called, Southwood or something.
The Southwood Family Meetup?
Yeah, it needs like a fun name. Give me a brand name for it. Family Fun Time?
That's a little like...
Family Fun Time at the park? No pedos allowed?
Yes.
We'll have security at the gate.
Yeah, but he's a pederast, dude.
Yeah, did 8 years in Chino. For months.
No, I love that. No, it's interesting because I am not the proactive person in our family.
Kim is, right?
Establishing us in the community. Yeah, Kim is totally... because we've been out there for 13 years, 14 years. No, not that long. It can't be that long. We've been out there for like 11 years. maybe. Anyway, we've been out there for a long time,
Was
but
it Babe Ruth, the
now
neighborhood?
now that we've got 2 kids in elementary school, 1 kid in middle school, and Kim is like up at the school doing volunteering in the library and stuff. Like
Yeah.
she's connected with a lot of other parents, and we're increasingly feeling more and more embedded in the community, which is and what's talking about gratitude. I feel this like super strong sense of gratitude for the community, particularly as like problems have arisen, and then people at the elementary school, the faculty and teaching staff have been super supportive, and there's legitimately adults that aren't related to us that like love my kids and look after them.
That's so amazing.
It's so cool.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, and there's
That's
something
how I was raised. It was awesome.
right, because you were in a small community. Yeah, there's something super significant about that. I've always been like wanting to kind of. I've always had this like anarchist in me, where it's like I don't want to be a part of any group or organization or whatever, and so I've never felt like I want to be like a part of a community. I've never had that sense or desire, and I almost just by like happenstance, because Kim's embedded us in the community. I mean, just because we've been out there so long, and the kids
like
are
you
in
didn't know what was
schools.
best
I
for
didn't.
you.
Yeah, I didn't exactly. I didn't know how great that how important that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. See, even talking about things you're grateful for starts like lifting you. Like I'm not in a bad mood today. I'm in like a very average mood. I'm just kind of like, I have a to-do list of stuff that's kind of tedious that I don't want to do. So I'm procrastinating by recording this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like, I've like already done the fun part of the project, and now I have to do the tedious part.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not stoked about it. So I'm just kind of like, whatever. But just talking about like, oh, I'm grateful for my community. That's like, it's lifting my spirit.
Yeah.
And then, you and I, we've built a little community here, right? And so like us talking, it's almost like you gotta feel that sense of connection with another human to be like, oh, you're doing the same thing I am, this weird human experience, right?
Yeah.
Like
There's like
it's something comforting in knowing like we all want the same things, we all experience the same emotions, and it's almost like everybody is experiencing a slightly different version of the same thing. Same range of emotions, same highs and lows relative to, the person's circumstances, and connecting with other people, particularly in like a like-minded community, right? You're then really connecting with people that are going through the same experience as you, which I think is just collectively the human experience, right? That humans have been going through since the dawn of humans.
Vonnegut talks about this concept called like a charis, which is like, he's got this whole weird sci-fi world, but it's this idea that like whoever is in your life is probably part of this thing called a charis, which is like the spirit group that you are going to interact with while you're here.
Oh, I believe in
And like
that.
there's really nothing you can do about who's in or out of your charis, and they're just there. And it's like you do this with them over and over and over.
Yeah, I've told you this before, but I read this really weird book called Seth Speaks in college, and it is about this lady, Jane Roberts, who channels a spirit named Seth, and then Seth dictates a book through her, and it's called Seth Speaks. And the whole point of the book, or the objective of the book, is for this eternal spirit personality named Seth to explain the nature of reality.
And I tried to find the book on Spotify, and all that is on there is this thing called the Seth Material.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Seth Speaks is the book I read in college, and it's all about like if you accept the premise, the book this spirit is explaining that reincarnation is real. We've all lived thousands of, countless lifetimes, and that we have spirit friends that we design these physical reality experiences to learn the things that we could only learn under the exact conditions that the experience provides.
So then I'm reading a super woo-woo book right now called Journey of Souls. And it's this PhD for whatever the fuck that means. But there's a PhD. He's a hypnotherapist. He gets into hypnotherapy after doing psychotherapy or whatever. He somehow gets into this world of getting people to talk about their past lives, which you have to accept that. The book basically starts with that as just like an accepted thing that happens. So then he decides, okay, I got all these patients. I want to explore, if you've got past lives, that means there's whether a infinitely small point or a larger amount of time, but there is time between the lives that delineates the fact that it was a past life versus a current life. So what happens in between? So he starts asking people about that, and he would take them back and be like, okay, past life, we've already addressed you, or whatever. How'd you die? Okay. What happened right afterwards? And he's asked like thousands of people about this. And I don't know like how much cross-pollination of like information occurred or did not occur, but according to him, and he has documentation of all these interviews, the recollections are oddly similar, and they're very similar to what Seth Speaks talks about.
Yeah, once there's
which is so fucking interesting.
It's interesting that so many different people who explore all this weird stuff arrive at similar conclusions. Even if you look at religions, like if you strip away all the stories and characters, the fundamentals are pretty similar, and they're at their core, they're all intending on helping you align yourself with some sort of higher power creator of everything. And they just have different names and characters and stories to help you do that, to help you understand that, right?
Well, I just think for me, I think like a lot of people, curious what happens when the lights go out. Because, and man, it's such a weird argument where it's like, well, if you knew, then you wouldn't have to have faith.
Yeah, it's like you can speculate, and then you can explore all the information that's out there, and then you can explore different experiences. And in my personal journey through consuming information from other people and through wild experiences that I've had, I've kind of built my own beliefs about what I think is going on here and what I think happens afterwards. Obviously, I don't fucking know.
If I could tell you, if there was a way where I could be like, yep, this is exactly what happens, would you want to know?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Do you know?
No, but if I did, would you want me to tell you?
Yeah, 100%.
So then
it's like the only thing that I actually care about knowing. I don't care about any other information.
You don't know how to install a bundle app on Shopify? No, I just figured that out.
ChatGPT does. Fucking ask it.
Actually, I acted this morning, and it ignored the fact that Shopify has a native bundling app. It went straight to, well, you could use a third-party bundling app. And then I went back, and David was like, no, they have a native one. So then I yelled at Chat, and I was like, why didn't you tell me about that? It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot that they have a native. I was like, you got to, I mean,
don't you know everything?
You got to check it sometimes.
Yeah. It's, so, I mean, we got a crude version of what will eventually be a infinite knowledge.
Yeah. So here is where my head's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bunch of stuff that's therapy related that I want to talk about.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to say the but.
That is what you want to talk about.
That's what I want to talk about.
Well, let's
talk. That's what we're talking about. So I just had my first session with my therapist, Anna. Hopefully she'll be a guest on the pod.
Yep, amazing guest. I'm excited for that.
She was gone for a month, got married in Italy. Very happy for her.
That's incredible.
So instead of meeting every week, we didn't meet for a month. So I did my last ketamine session, and then an integration, and then she flew out like the next day.
Yeah, that's a big hiatus.
It's a big hiatus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she gave me we came up with, because I was very like part of this prescription, but we came up with 4 goals for the month while she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was meditate.
Mm-hmm.
That's we could do like 50 pods on fucking that alone. The next goal was journaling. The next goal was I've forgotten the next goal.
You got 2.
And
2
I got
out of
2
4.
of them. We were just talking about them. I lost it. It'll come back. And then the 4th one was my favorite one, which was appreciating that I am in a state of transitioning from mentally unhealthy to mentally what I would call healthy. And this is like the thing that this is what I want to figure out how to get better at saying, which is there are millions and millions of people who, like me, suffer from depression and anxiety. And we're in a really weird time right now where there are extremely powerful drugs that can act as a salve on that disease, if you want to call it a disease, spiritual or physical or whatever. I have been on antidepressants for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Different ones, because sometimes they work for a while and then stop working. The most interesting point of time are these. You watched the Loki series?
Oh yeah.
Where the timelines fucking start splitting and it gets really fucky. The hardest thing for me in my journey through mental health is being made aware that I have a choice to behave differently, and then being presented by God or the universe or whatever with the opportunity to decide if I want to go the old path or the new path. And then in real time having to decide which one to go with. Both of them are very difficult because the old path includes a lot of shame of accepting that, you know what, I'm not ready to change and I want to just stick with the consequences I've been having, which if you have anxiety and depression are not good ones. Or you can choose to do something different. And that's where, like, I'm still trying to figure out how to describe that moment.
So she's saying you need to appreciate this current state that you're in where you are hyper aware of these forks in the road. And even though both are difficult paths to accept, like, obviously there's one you're supposed to accept. Also, if you accept the old way path, you can't beat yourself up. You just get back on the fucking path and pick the right path the next time.
Exactly. And so what I not struggle with, what's so interesting to talk about here is I have been trying to get better, like mentally healthy, for 16 years. And I'm only now really starting to feel like I'm addressing the issue. That is terrifying, because if I was to tell everybody, like, yeah, you can figure it out, it's going to take you a decade or two to get there.
Yeah, that's like,
who's going to do that?
Right.
Who's going to fucking do that when you could just take a pill?
It's not dissimilar from entrepreneurship, right? It's like if somebody would have told me in 2025 that I would still be in like startup mode as a 40-year-old man, I'd be like, fuck that, I'm going to get a job.
I'm going to get a job and get a fucking lake house and chill.
Yeah. So it's, but it's also just highlights that everything worth doing, everything that's truly worth doing takes way longer than you would like it to. And any idea that it doesn't, or any like outward example of like, you know, someone that had instant success at something really significant, it's like, it's probably not true. There's probably some story there that you're not aware of. And I think it's actually, it should be...
Using stories is like a really interesting and sort of triggering word because of landmark. I don't know if you ever did that.
No.
You know what landmark is?
It's like a culty MLM.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm aware of it. Which yeah, like
but they're not wrong.
Those things have a lot of truth in them, but then it's like wielded for nefarious, self-serving,
or for profit,
like,
or whatever.
It's wielded for the wrong reasons, as every cult is, right? Like every cult has lots of powerful truth in it, and that's why people get sucked in, and then they're like, now I'm gonna fuck your wife.
And you gotta get a tattoo on your vagina.
Yeah, but sometimes the...
That was the cult, right? That's what he was doing. He was tattooing.
I mean, I think that's every cult, right? Oh, I don't know.
That was the one that was like a Netflix doc where the guy was just like...
I'm not sure of that.
Wild.
I don't think I've just...
You don't even watch Netflix.
But yeah, no. It's like, and that's what's crazy is like, the truth inside of those cults is so powerful and so true that it's able to convince people to do wild shit.
As a former cult member, the craziest thing about it and why it's so badass as a psychological tactic is the more extreme the buy-in, the more people that are on the outside of the cult seem like they don't get it.
Right.
And so the more it seems like you do get it and you're on the inside of something that they really can't understand. And it fucking perpetuates.
Right.
It's so crazy. I slid into one for years. It's the most insane shit.
Yeah.
But then what's a cult? Is this a cult?
This is a cult.
Is Texas Hill
This is
Country
a friendly
Division's
cult. We're not trying to fuck anyone's wives.
That's good. Is Chill Country a cult?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you could draw cult parallels to any group or organization of people that like adhere to the same value system, right? You know, America is a cult. The fucking public school system is a cult.
So,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Me, a brand is a cult.
If it's done well. It's just, is it a friendly cult, or is it, you know, are there ulterior motives?
Right. Talking to you about brand, that's been so awesome to learn about brand. Like, if you died today, I don't think I'd be able to, like, pull it off, like, in your level, but I think I'd understand the guardrails enough to, like, keep things from getting too wild. I sometimes think about it that way. Like, if you died, how would I take what you've taught me about brand and like try to shepherd it?
But it's like the term brand is kind of gross because it's boiling down something something meaningful into a word that is like marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because a brand is just, it's like, it's everything, right? Like everything that we do, everything we do and the way that we do it and the decisions we make and what we choose to do and not do, and our value system and the morals that we adhere to, like that is our brand, right? And so
the conversations we have with people in and out of the office.
Totally. And there's a great quote that is, your brand is what happens in someone's mind when they hear your name, right? And based on that definition, if I say Chris Sika to
probably hear
20 different people,
yeah,
everybody is going to have a slightly different understanding.
Idea or memory or...
Yeah, everyone's going to have a slightly different idea of what Chris Sika means.
Right. Or Madison Wickham.
And as like in the company context, when you're creating a brand, you have in your head this like ideal, again, like perfection. Like I have like a perfect idea in my head of what Texas Hill Country Provisions is, of what Chill Country is.
Yeah.
And I'm working diligently every day to manifest that vision into a form that other people can look at and be like, oh, I see what that is. And this is the plight of perfectionism, where it's like no matter how good a job we do, I can look at it and be like, that's maybe 80% of what I see.
But isn't like, as you're growing, your understanding and belief system are changing?
Totally.
So then your perfect idea of the brand is also evolving.
Well, I just have the perspective of like, yeah, but perfection's impossible, right? So I can rest with satisfaction in knowing that we're doing a pretty damn good job.
But does that, going back to it, does that mean that your vision of the brand is changing over time? Or is that, you said I have a perfect idea of what Texas Hill Country Provisions is in my head. Is that a static or a dynamic thing?
I would say that the way I think about it is it's not my idea. I think it's an idea that's I subscribe to the ether concept, where there's like ideas floating in the ether, and I think that's why there's so many similar things. I don't think it's because everyone's copying each other. I think it's because many people have seen this idea that we're executing. And so I think the idea itself is this perfect thing that exists in the ether. And then I think that different people tap into it and try to manifest it through their particular lens. And so I think everybody's manifestation of the idea is different, and it should be different, and it should be unique to the person executing it. But I mean, I think there's one idea. I don't know exactly how to articulate this thought, but I think there's one idea.
What did you tell the people at Hometown Hero?
What did I tell them? Well, yeah, I don't know. That was kind of like a
one-time thing,
a private.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to air that out, but I just think that there's truth. There is fundamental truth that exists beyond things we can quantify with science.
So if I asked you, what'd you tell Austin Oyster Co., would you say the same thing?
I told them the exact same. Yeah. I mean, I just think that I think that there is fundamental truth, and I think that we all have the ability to tap into it, and that's the idea, is the fundamental truth. And what we're trying to do in creating anything is we're trying to push that truth through our own unique lens. Everyone's a unique antenna to tap into that truth. And with our own unique lens, we are literally manifesting things that are representations of that truth. And if you do it well, then the thing you manifest will resonate with other people because it's infused with truth. And the more purely you can tap into that truth and pull it through you, the more pure the end result is. And it's, again, another thing that's impossible to do perfectly, right? So it's this scale of like, how truthful is the thing that you're aspiring to create? And you could look at it on an individual level with a specific product, or on a broad level with the company as a whole, or an even broader level with like your entire fucking life, right? How much like you're creating a family, all of the things that you create, it's all this creative process where like you have an idea in your head of what your perfect family looks like, right? And it's not to be like a tyrant of like, it's just we're all fueled by this idea of truth.
Dude, that's fucking interesting.
I don't know if this is like making
really
sense to anybody,
resonated.
but like, yeah, it's like I explained this.
I have a vision of what my family should look like.
And how much of that vision is truth versus
like ego
trauma.
or trauma
Ego, yeah,
or fantasy.
is ego is like, I think we should all be like, fucking clean cut aristocrats that go sailing, and it's like that's like that is not truth. That's a lie. And we're everybody's antennas are
But that's actually true for some people that actually live that.
I guess not the version that I'm thinking. I'm thinking like the status seeking, like all my kids wear, like, I mean, dude, like I spent the first leg of my career building a website called totalfratmove.com, where we had crude jokes that were essentially from the perspective of rich kids that never have to work hard, that just get to party through college and then get jobs handed to them by their fucking dads or whatever the fuck this like hilarious idea of a so, and it was a jestful thing, but also is like I wanted to be that, because I grew up around a bunch of wealthy kids, not being wealthy myself, so strongly desiring to be wealthy that I had this like wrong idea in my head, right? And it was never like totally all consuming, right? I never took it too far, but it's been this like long journey of like deprogramming those things from my brain
100%,
so that I could do a better job of pursuing
what really matters,
which is
what's
truth,
really true,
right?
For you specifically,
right? And
because there's truth, and then there's your perspective of truth, which is uniquely yours.
Well, it's your
perception.
Yes, but I do think that there are just universal, fundamental aspects of truth that everybody should aspire to kind of integrate into everything that they do, right? And I think that all of the religions try to describe those things.
So let's talk about what we always joke, what are we doing? But we're not really joking. We're actually curious, like, what are we actually doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've really honed in recently on what we actually care about, which is helping people heal.
Yep. Healing ourselves, and then sharing any amount of insights that we've gained through this long fucking grueling process in a way that hopefully can be helpful to other people who are maybe at an earlier stage in the process.
Totally. And so it's like, that's going back to the 16-year journey of trying to improve mental health. One of the things that has become super clear to me, I'm trying to do fucking Whole 30.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. When I was a kid, my parents, they had to work, whatever. They'd leave me home alone. And for breakfast, here's what I would eat for breakfast. I would make cinnamon sugar Pop-Tarts.
Delicious.
With tea that was filled with sugar and milk. Okay, well, after the Pop-Tarts...
Hot tea?
Hot tea, yeah. I
really?
loved hot tea.
Interesting.
After the Pop-Tarts were done, I'm obviously still hungry.
Yeah.
So then I would make cinnamon toast. Cinnamon toast was toast it in the toaster, not in the oven. Butter, cinnamon, tons of sugar, right? So that's with breakfast. And then sometimes some cereal. And then lunchtime was usually
what type of cereal?
Well, I started as a Cracklin' Oat brand kid. The O's.
Cracklin' Oats.
Crackle and Oat brand. They're very expensive, very small box, total ripoff, but they are incredible.
Not even familiar.
But they're not healthy, but they look healthy. They're super sweet. So I'd eat that, or Cinnamon Toast, obviously, is the best
Cinnamon
one.
Toast Crunch?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the best one.
There's a
And
theme
then there's Captain Crunch, which is also good.
You're a cinnamon sugar guy.
Very much.
It's very interesting that we now have an apple cinnamon flavored gummy.
That I'm going to make into a CBD CBN gummy. So that was breakfast. Lunch was usually more cereal, and then throughout the day, I'd eat like ice cream out of the freezer. We had little cheesecake bites a lot of times.
So just no restrictions. Zero restrictions on what you can eat, which is wild because it is the exact opposite of how I grew up. Like my parents never had a lot of money, but they were my mom was dead set on feeding us clean organic food. So she was shopping at Whole Foods from the time I was born.
It was fucking big.
The time I was born, like you treating us with homeopathics, never going to the doctor, eating like we had no sugar cereal. We had nothing delicious in our house. And I was so fucking jealous because I would go, and I was like one of those little sugar monster kids where I would go to someone's house who had Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I would be like fiending for it. Like, when do we get to eat it? And I would make the biggest fucking bowl. And I was just conniving, trying to figure out like, how do we get in that fucking pantry and eat some goddamn sugar?
Yes.
Right?
Dude, yes.
And so I grew up like resenting health food because it was all I was allowed to eat, and it sucked.
I didn't know what it was. My mom would cook my mom's a really good cook, so she'd cook like really amazing dinners every night. But during the day, it was fucking free reign. So why do I bring that up? Well, a lot of my friends know me as like the donut guy. I love donuts. I used to bring them everywhere. I'd take them all the time. Ice cream every night. And so I've been eating dessert and or sweet breakfasts every day for 35 years. I am trying this Whole30 thing, which basically says no processed food and no refined sugar.
Yep. And for those that don't know, it's not your typical fad diet. It's a really interesting
It's really
diet.
interesting. It's like they basically say it is something you do for 30 days to reset your relationship with food and to basically kill cravings that you have. I have kicked alcohol, been off alcohol for 16 years. I've kicked nicotine. I've quit nicotine probably fucking 40 times, but I've actually been off of it since July 4th of last year.
Yeah, you're done with it.
I'm done with it. And trying to kick sugar feels a lot like nicotine.
Right.
I am literally in my kitchen every night pacing back and forth. The other day, because you can have fruit. I found a loophole in the system. I went to Central Market with my fucking sleepy-ass daughter who definitely needed a nap. I dragged her ass to Central Market, and I bought like $100 worth of fruit, and I ate a whole mango and a whole pear before we were going to go to dinner, just fiending for sugar. And I did give Birdie a couple pieces to try to make it seem like it was for her, too. It was not. I had the biggest fucking stomachache in my life, dude. All that to say, like, sugar has been, oh my God.
It's the weirdest of them because it's the weirdest of the drugs because we've made it cute and for kids, and it's like cartoon characters,
Easter eggs,
colorful stuff, and it's just a little sugar.
Hey, Lucky Charms.
Oh, we're going to the movies. I'm gonna have some fucking. It's like it's just everywhere. It's
and
like
then holidays, you can't be the dick that's like.
I know you can't.
You don't get to have any treats. You're gonna have a carrot.
Yeah, like you can't be that. It's like, but it's like it's a crazy conundrum, right? Because
sugar is in everything.
As you understand how how addicting it is, how much it fucks with your gut and your brain. And that it is actually slowly poisoning you to death, right?
I have really high cholesterol. I have pretty high blood sugar. I did. It's actually down quite a bit from what it was, except my cholesterol. But
you're gonna figure it out though, because that's what's so cool about Whole30 is it's not like a typical fad diet, because the whole point is to teach you how to eat well, because there's only one way to eat well, and that is to eat real food. right? That is literally the only diet that anybody should aspire to, is like, what should I eat? Well, you should eat real food. You should
It should
eat
be stuff
fruit,
you can find
vegetables.
walking around.
Yes, fruit, vegetables, meat, nuts, fucking healthy grains.
If it was in a factory, it's probably...
Yeah, if it was born in a lab,
Yeah.
if it has no expiration date.
Right. So, again, going back to the 16-year journey, what I'm trying to figure out is, like, how do you take what's happened for your, I guess, 16-year journey? We're about the same age.
Yeah.
Get out of college, whatever. So, last 15 and a half, 16, decade and a half years, how do we take what we've gone through? Like, is the goal to try to, like, shorten that for other people that want to get better? Or, like, is it even, like, I don't know.
My thought on it is, I have benefited tremendously by listening to other people explain a lot of these ideas that have that they start out as like
you plant seeds.
As an example, when I was in the darkest period of my last company, when like the walls were closing in, I picked up a book called The Obstacle is the Way, which was written by a guy named Ryan Holiday, who's actually a kind of an Austin guy, a greater Austin area guy, lives in Bastrop. And it's like it's like the Cliff Note version of Stoic philosophy, which I'm not a great reader. I don't read a lot. And so reading like ancient texts, I need some assistance. So it was like the perfect book for me. And Stoic philosophy was like the perfect philosophy that I needed at the time, because it was so psychologically daunting, the situation I was in, and I felt very helpless. Despite my best efforts, there was like, it just got to this point where it's like there's nothing I can fucking do, right? And so Stoic philosophy is all about like separating yourself from what is happening, what's going on, and even separating yourself from the emotions you're experiencing. And it kind of describes it as like there's this brief moment between stimulus and action, and it's in that space that you can decide how you're going to act. And so that was my first introduction to all of that. And I read that book like 5 times. And so it was one of those things where it's so packed full of like wisdom that a lot of it, it's like I understood on an intellectual level for a while before I could actually like embody it, right? It's like it starts there, right? It starts by getting the wisdom, the understanding like
literally every word you just said replaced what was the book called? Obstacles the Way, with A New Earth from Eckhart Tolle. I had the exact same experience.
Yeah, and so I think of it as
about
like
the observer versus the thoughts and all that shit.
Yeah, and what's so well done in that book is, 1, it's super easy to read. 2, he uses all sorts of easy to understand examples of like noteworthy modern figures, historical figures, and kind of takes these ancient philosophical ideas that were written hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and shows you how great people who have achieved great things or gone through extremely difficult things have used those same exact ideas to kind of maintain their sanity as they go through them. So that's just one of many, many, many examples of things that I've come across in my journey to the place that I'm at now, which I feel like is the most like mentally stable and peaceful state I've ever been in my entire life. Not that I'm like, you know, in a perfect Zen state, as we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, and it's a lifelong journey, but I finally feel like I've passed this threshold where it's like, okay, I have legitimately learned some amazing things that have helped me tremendously. And if they've helped me tremendously, I can talk, if I talk about them publicly, surely there are other people out there who are in similarly difficult, maybe even likely even more significantly difficult situations where some of these ideas said in the right way, conveyed honestly with example, you know, it's like it's.
There's a saying in my 12-step program that says like you have to give it away to keep it. Which is really interesting.
It's like teaching is the best way to learn, right? So it's like it's a never-ending thing. These are complicated concepts, and it's like there's a reason why church is weekly, why they were like read the Bible every day, right? It's like because these are really hard concepts.
Take a long time to learn.
Yeah, it takes a long time to learn and understand, and then an even longer time to actually embody. And there's never some like end point where you're like, all right, I learned it all, and now I'm embodying it all perfectly. It's like you literally forget, and then you have to remind yourself. So like this is there's two motivations here. There is the motivation of we have learned some things. I'm 40, you're almost 40, and we've been here a long time, and we've learned a lot of things, and sharing those things in an earnest way hopefully can be helpful to other people that care to listen to them. But also, even if nobody fucking listens, I feel better right now than I did at the start of the podcast.
Same.
Just talking about this stuff, because it's like it's a reminder. It's a reminder, and reminding yourself helps you fucking pull it down out of the ether into your body so that you can fucking be at peace.
I remember I was like 20, 21, and this is when the suicidal thoughts were starting to be daily. And so I don't even know who gave me A New Earth. Might have been someone else who's selling books, but I read that book. You know that word voracious? I never heard any motherfucker use that word except right before reader. I'm a voracious reader. I've never heard anyone say voracious except for reader, and maybe one time for eater.
Yeah, I'd say that is an unnecessary.
It's an unnecessary word.
Yeah.
Which I was about to say, and then I was like, "Fuck that word." So I read the shit out of that book. I wrote on it, and I carried it around like a Bible, and it like I would just go to it all the time. That book saved my life for a couple years. And that was the first time I was introduced.
What is it about?
It's the same guy that wrote Power Now.
Okay.
The story behind Eckhart, I'm going to butcher it, but his story is that he was thinking about killing himself. He was walking around just thinking like, all right, how am I going to do this? And then he was in a hotel room, and like kind of right before the brink, he had literally like a burning bush, like flash moment where I don't know if he claims this, but he essentially was struck enlightened. And it was so jarring that he basically spent like 6 months like sitting in a park bench just like wondering what the fuck just happened. Literally, just like I don't know, but I know I know the truth now.
I know everything.
Not everything, but like
yeah, I know the truth.
When you hear him speak,
the veil has been lifted.
And so when he talks, it's literally like a Seth Speaks situation where like it doesn't seem scripted.
He's speaking like Jesus with authority.
Yes, and like he's coming off the cuff, and he can go for hours without stopping. And it's like
you've told me that I need to look into
all
this
of
guy.
it's fucking real shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how else to describe how someone gets that good at explaining real shit. Maybe they practice a bunch. But then he wrote A Power of Now, which is basically his like attempt to codify his insight, which is that like right now is really kind of the only time you can experience God and the universe. And the past is obviously fake. The future is obviously not real. But then A New Earth is kind of like maybe a second attempt at expounding on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I arose to this conclusion without even knowing who that was, that the only thing that exists is right now. There, like, time is this weird agreed upon illusion that we all use to organize, but it's actually always just right now.
Dude, Don't even get me started on time. Did we talk about this in the previous episode where time is actually like all fucky?
I don't know.
Like we think about time in like static intervals where it's like, well, 1 minute is fucking 1 minute.
Right.
That is all bullshit. That's not how time actually works.
Yeah, it's almost like the watches are anchored into one aspect of time, so you can always return to the watch. You can always return to the fucking ticker, and it's always the same time.
But no, it gets weirder than that. Way weirder than that. So my buddy Nick, who I don't know if you ever met him, he's actually smart at science and like understands quantum and Newtonian physics a little bit, as opposed to like a guy like me that's like armchair guy that's like, oh yeah, I read about a black hole. So you take a clock and you put it at the top of a tower, and you let the clock on Earth and them run for a while. After instantaneous amount of time, but after a while you'll see that they're not synced up.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because
is that similar to
time
like
is related to speed.
Yes.
And so
that's Einstein shit, right?
yeah, it's Newtonian shit and Einsteinian shit. But like I went on a trip with him. We went spearfishing, and he was explaining how like how you can't go faster than the speed of light. Basically, I was like, why can't you go faster than the speed of light? That's like a concept that physicists have kind of like, at least in their heads, proven. Uh-huh. And he was trying to explain why that is, and like it's because as you approach the speed of light, stuff expands to where like you can't actually go faster than the speed of light. Again, I'm not smart enough to.
On a very crude level, that makes sense to me.
It's fucking crazy. So even time is like,
You know why though, right? Because God is light. You can't go faster than God.
Can't go faster than God, dude. He goes pretty slow sometimes. 16 fucking years, that's a long time, bro. Speed this shit up.
Yeah, it's like what's that fucking slowly then all at once?
Yeah.
The craziest part about it is for the last 16 years, it's only been you in your own way. It's only been me in my own way, right? And then it's only when you start to discover like, oh, I can step to the side in a way.
I've been terrified my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you make decisions in fear.
Yeah, dude, it's the darkness. It's the darkness is what's scary, right? And when you got a lot of darkness in you, it's going to drive you to make fear-based decisions. But what I think we've both discovered fairly recently is that this active path of pursuing all the different therapeutic modalities that you could find that resonate with you, they all are methods of shining a little bit of light on the darkness. And so the more diligently you pursue that path, and the more modalities that you find that really resonate with you, the more light you can shine on that darkness. And then I've said this a number of times, but it's like a monster in the closet. It doesn't exist. There's no monster. It's just darkness that needs to be filled with light. And when you flip the lights on, you realize it's just a fucking empty closet and there's nothing to be scared of.
Darkness is just the absence of light.
It's just
like cold is just the absence of heat. There's no such thing as cold.
Right.
There's just no heat.
And so you can fill yourself with light through all of these different modalities. And I think the thing that you and I are both the most fascinated with are psychedelic therapies.
I will fucking say, like, I've, reading New Earth and then reading a bunch of other books, that was helpful. That planted seeds. That kept me safe. Meditation, very powerful, but didn't help me break through. The thing that has made a walloping difference, like all those years of building, very important. I can't say how effective where I'm at would have been without it, but psychedelics.
Well, I think what you were doing for for all of that time was building the foundation of knowledge and perspective. And then it's something about the psychedelic experience fucking pulls that shit out of your head and allows you to embody it.
It pulled it into my heart.
Because you and I have both understood all of these concepts. Like we've been on a similar journey of reading fucking everything, listening to fucking everyone, trying to understand what the fuck is going on here and how am I supposed to live my life.
Yes.
We've been doing the same thing. And then it's only after these insane, profound psychedelic experiences under the guidance of trained facilitators with like the right intentions, the right setting, the right facilitators, under those, something about that allows you to not just understand these ideas on an intellectual level, but actually fucking fully embody it and understand it to a point where you can actually apply it to your day-to-day life.
You talked about like the distance between the spark and the decision, or like the thought and the decision, or like, you know, and I was talking about my version of that, which is like, I have this fork in the road. I can choose the old neuronic path or the new path. The old path is a well-trodden neuron pathway that feels very comfortable. The new path's very scary. The most effective thing that has given me the pause to make the choice to go the new path is psychedelics.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that? And we could not have more different upbringings, totally different sets of traumas that we've experienced, and we arrive at the same conclusion. And we experience this.
First, I don't know. Do you talk about it?
Yeah.
Did you do your first ayahuasca before we met or after?
It was, so we met
2019.
Well, when we really became friends was like COVID, right?
Yeah. So we met at radio, and then
that was in 2019.
That was before COVID. That was
Tanner. Before. Well, I had my first. I did the first ayahuasca retreat in 2019, 2019.
I don't know when Tanner introduced this.
I don't remember either, but I mean, I had, whenever we started doing the weekly campfire meetup, I was it was like 6 months after my first experience, and I was still very
So you'd already done it the first time before our first.
Yes, but I was still very confused. I had like the seed, but it was basically, I also did not do it. I didn't have a therapist. I didn't do it. I did the experience under trained facilitators. I did the integration totally by myself, reading shit, listening to stuff. Like, so that was, if I just simply had a therapist that I was meeting with weekly, I probably would have made more sense of all of that stuff a lot sooner.
Right.
But I didn't even understand the concept of normal therapy until after my second ayahuasca experience in 2022. And that's really when things really started clicking. But even so, the 2019 experience, exactly 1 year later, I launched the THC Provisions Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And that was a direct result of the takeaways from that experience.
So here's where my head's going right now. So I'm going to share it. As is my pattern, I'm seeing, like, it's hard to not look at what's happened for you since 2019 and for me since last year and not see some pretty strong similarities in terms of maybe how to approach psychedelics and some of the other things that accompany it, and to not very quickly be like, well, we should probably fucking codify it and turn it into a thing that other people can replicate.
Yeah.
But then it's but I don't know what's best for people.
I think right now just talking about it, because the other thing too is like, not that nobody's talking about this stuff. There's a whole corner of the internet filled with people talking about psychedelics and therapy and all of that. But the more people who talk about it, the less stigma there is, and the easier it is for people to be like, maybe I need therapy, right? Where it's like therapy still has a lot of stigma to it. Psychedelics have a ton of stigma to them. All of these things are like the stigmas are breaking down, and these things are reemerging into the culture. But I think that like one of the driving reasons for us to do this content is to hopefully help in destigmatizing all of that stuff further. And I think the best way to do that is to share personal stories.
Yeah, it's like as you get to know us, you'll hopefully come to like relate and trust.
Yeah.
And then if you trust and relate and we say that this is working for us.
I also think there's a lot of swindlers out there. There's a lot of people that discover the like truths that you can like psychedelics kind of wipe your pre-existing perspectives, and then you have to rebuild them. And in rebuilding them, you're almost like, it's like a lot of your perspectives on the world, a lot of your worldview includes perspectives that were kind of solidified as a kid, right?
Yeah, and they have like science words for like having your center of whatever getting shifted.
Yeah, so it's like you have a lot of your beliefs about the world were literally solidified when you were like 12, 5,
which
16, whatever,
which
right?
I'm reading a book right now. It's called How to Talk So Your Kids Listen, because I'm trying to figure out how to talk to Birdie. And they said something the other day that I wanted to share with you that I forgot, which was how you talk to your kids becomes their inner voice. And
that's
like,
really interesting.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, you're talking about.
So it's like we all, everybody has a different worldview, and that's like everyone's unique worldview, right? And it's based on your beliefs about what this is and about how the world works, and you know some people, and we're all a mixture.
Who you are and how you belong.
Who you are,
what makes you valuable.
What you can do, what you can't do, right? And so we all have this, like that's all we are is like this mixture of beliefs, right? And
Stories.
so we.
You're getting blown up today.
Yeah. It's distracting me. Probably should have gone airplane mode. And so the crazy thing about a well-administered psychedelic experience is that it has the power to kind of wipe your mind of all of these pre-existing beliefs about the world, about yourself, about how things work. And then as a 40-year-old man armed with a lot more knowledge and perspective on the world, you can start really questioning some core beliefs that you have and say, do I actually believe that still? Or is that something I can discard and replace with a new, more accurate belief about how the world works, right?
Dude, yes.
And I think that is, I've never discovered anything like psychedelics to aid in that. And I have this belief that all of our problems are a glaring lack of perspective. And psychedelics are the thing that I've discovered that by far better than anything else I've ever experienced can provide me, it can rewire those perspectives in a super positive, beneficial way. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know how it works. Yeah. I have some beliefs.
All we have is the results, and they seem to be strong.
Right. And it's not just the two of us, right? There is actual...
There's literally a psychedelic conference happening next week in Colorado.
Right. And you just...
Or like
particularly what we're doing with the cannabis product. Cannabis is just a mild psychedelic, right? Yeah. And that's why we're such big proponents of it, because you can
drink alcohol and numb your shit, or you could have some THC, and it's like almost impossible to not be introspective.
It forces introspection. It just blasts your darkness with light, and that's why if you do too much of it, you get really uncomfortable and start getting paranoid or whatever. You just start having a lot of uncomfortable thoughts because shining light on darkness is uncomfortable. But and not that you can't. You can certainly use cannabis improperly irresponsibly, and you can use it to just straight up numb yourself, and you can hit dabs, and you can use super high dose edibles, and you can smoke all day, and then it's no better than anything else. I mean, I would still argue that it's better than alcohol because it's not going to kill you. And I think it's easier to kick a cannabis addiction than it is, an extreme alcohol addiction. I mean, that's personal belief. I'm sure everybody's different, whatever. But when used properly, it can be both a way to relax and to be at ease with the darkness while shining little bits of light on it. And you want to get the dose right, because there's a big difference between little bits of light and a fucking spotlight, right?
Spotlight sometimes?
And spotlights are helpful, but not by yourself, right? Like
Right.
and heavy psychedelics like psilocybin or ayahuasca.
Just to be clear, we're not, at least I'm not, I don't think you are either, talking about taking a half a gram of fucking psilocybin and going to Barton Springs.
No.
We're
And
talking about
half a gram of psilocybin is a low dose. But
I know. That's what I'm talking about. It's like having a little fun and going to Barton Springs and seeing colors. Like that's
which
not what
is
we're talking
still
about.
better than crushing a 6-pack at Barton Springs,
Right.
I believe. And it's insane that that's illegal. But even using cannabis is not going to fix your problems. It should be used in conjunction with other therapeutic modalities, and only used if needed, right? And used as, in my opinion, as a better alternative to things like alcohol or Xanax or other more harmful prescription drugs. But I think therapy, regular therapy or EMDR, talk therapy, I think that is like the essential modality that everybody should try. And that's like your baseline. If you go to therapy every single week, like, one, it just keeps you in check. You have somebody that you can dump all your bullshit to that will very gracefully call you out.
They get to know your baseline and can call you out when you get off track.
Yep. And so that's like if you think about it as like, all right, I'm going to get on this like program of self-improvement and trying to like make myself the best person I can be. Your therapist is like your fucking trainer. It's like,
if you're not working on yourself, like I don't understand what people are doing.
What else are you doing?
What is there to do?
What the fuck is there to do?
And like the excuse that like you don't have time. I get not having money and not having benefits. Like that's really fucked up. That sucks. But not having time is horseshit.
Well, that's an important point to bring up. So many people cannot afford therapy.
I know, and I don't know what to do about that.
Well,
all I know how to do is call out the time part.
I'm curious to know how effective BetterHelp is. You know, have you heard about these tele?
They advertise all the time.
But like, that's just one that came to mind. But I'm sure there's a bunch of them. But where it seems like more affordable, more accessible. Just you need somebody to fucking talk to.
Skip going out to dinner one night a week and use it for therapy.
Which is still like. People that can do that are in a position of there's so many people that don't know how they're going to get dinner, right? So and that's fucked.
That is fucked.
And it's like you can't save the whole world. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a solution for that. And if we sell 1 billion gummies, then
feed some people.
We'll hopefully have the resources to figure out how to help even more people, whatever. Right now we can help people that are similar to us, and if you can afford therapy, whether it's less expensive teletherapy, if it's some sort of like social work, community finance therapy program, group therapy, go to fucking AA, go to like somewhere where you can
get help,
where you can talk to other people about your problems.
Yeah.
Because everyone has problems. Everyone's going through the same shit, different versions of the same shit.
The way you kill like mental health problems is by talking them to death. That's how you kill them. So, and there's an old saying, which is secrets keep you sick. If you've got thoughts that are fucking hurting, share them.
Well, because and sharing them starts to shine a light. If you're just keeping them all inside, then it's the fucking dark closet. But you get like a little bit of light when you start talking about them with somebody else. And then you can shut the lights off again and retreat, back into the darkness. And then things like drugs and alcohol will help you rest comfortably in the darkness, but it's not doing anything to solve the problem, right?
It's like that happiness shared is multiplied, sadness shared is divided. I fucking love that saying. It is so true.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess all this to say, don't just fucking buy our gummies or anybody else's cannabis products and think that that's like the remedy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. People refer to it as medicine, and I truly believe that it is one of the most powerful medicines in the world if used properly. In this family of the most powerful medicines in the world, which are natural psychedelic medicines that have just existed here on the planet since, however they got here, however this whole fucking place got here, they're part of it, and but they have to be used properly, and using any of them in a vacuum isn't going to do shit.
Right. It's amazing. We're very lucky. And we just spent a bunch of time talking about gratitude and stuff we're grateful for, and look at that. We're grateful.
Feeling good. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Get help. Do what you need. Talk to someone. Therapy is amazing.
The thing that I'm just obsessed with now is it's actually possible to resolve the underlying issues.
It's possible to resolve trauma.
I spent so much of my life just covering it up with things like alcohol and fucking work addiction and like all the things, like just grabbing for all of the things to allow myself to sit comfortably in the darkness. And it was the combination of responsibly administered psychedelic therapy, using psychedelics for therapeutic purposes mixed with actual talk therapy are like, that's the combination that I found where it's like, oh shit, I can actually resolve these things, and then they're fucking gone. Then you just flip the lights on, it's a fucking closet. So it's a long journey, but it should be I hope that it is hopeful. I hope that it like provides some level of hope that like it's possible. You can fucking do it.
It's possible. It's literally possible. Well, I'm hungry and I have to pee.
Sick. Well, all right. We did it. We did another episode.
Was that episode 4?
That was episode 4.
Amazing. That was so sick. Literally just talked about what we talked about.